For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more.
A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Coles Brown Show. Heard and watched exclusively right here on the Black College Sports Network. I'm Coles Brown, joined by Charles Edmonds of the Alcorn State Radio Network, who will be joining me in hour number 1. Charles, good morning to you, sir.
Pleasant good morning from the Davie L. Whitney Arena, our first home men's basketball game of the year. The only team in the country not to have a home game to this point. Looking forward to this, one of a handful of big games today on the men's side.
Wow, that's an interesting fact, Charles. But guess what? 2 of the hottest teams on the men's side and even on the women's side, Southern University, this Southwestern Athletic Conference basketball race, although early, it's still early. Complete surprise by many, with Alcorn State doing well off the bat on the men's side. Southern University's men doing well as well. It will be an interesting race. You've got to fight against the elements. You got to fight against COVID, and of course the competition. But both teams are off to a outstanding start.
Yeah, as far as the men are concerned, you're kind of not surprised with Southern University. I mean, they showed some flashes last year, and Coach Woods kind of getting his agenda going. But I think clearly for Alcorn, starting out 3-0, getting our three on the road out of the way the schedule is now set up, and to win three on the road, and I've tweeted it and I put it out there the first time since 05-06 that we started out 3-0 in conference. I think it's something special. But as Landon Bussey had told me yesterday, we hadn't done a thing. We hadn't done a thing yet. You got the best two teams in the conference coming in here, hadn't played a home game. You don't know the dynamics there. You're used to playing on the road, and now you're playing at home. It's different. So we'll see. I mean, like you said, we hadn't done a thing yet. And if you truly want to get the attention of the SWAC Nation, get it done. Get it done today. Get it done Monday against the top two teams. And as far as the women are concerned, I mean, Southern University, Coach Funch has done a really nice job taking over for Sandy Pugh. The transition, that's seamless. They just pick up where they left off. And I think, it seems like Southern University scoring more points. And I think that's good because in the past, they were a team that just kind of bogged you down. But now they're scoring more points, and I think that's dangerous for the opposition.
Well, the race is not won by the swiftest, the old cliche goes, but one who endures. And so that's a great way to put it. Today's guest, of course, on the Coles Brown Show, you see the first guest for the first hour. Charles has an opportunity to call another Alcorn basketball game on Alcorn State Radio Network. He's here for the first hour. We're going to be joined by Coach Robert Valdez, head football coach at St. James High School. And then in the second hour, Coach Van Pettaway. He'll join me, the Coles Brown Show's basketball analyst. So, well, we have a full show for you. Some news and notes. We kind of led the show off with this. Southern's women and men's basketball team are on a roll. 2-0 on the road last week. They went on the road and got it done. Now they're on the road again today. The women at 3 p.m. against the nemesis, the rival, Grambling State University. But kudos to both women and men's basketball team. SWAC baseball tournament, 2022. It's moving again. It's going to be in Birmingham. We'll get Charles' thoughts on that in just a second. And then Southern University releases their 2020 baseball season schedule. It's very interesting. Non-conference games, and now with Alcorn moving over to the West. In baseball, it'll be 5 head-to-head series plus your non-conference game, highlighting Southern University's non-conference baseball schedule. They're going to play Towson State. They're going to play LSU. And they got the University of Missouri coming to Lee Hines Field. So the guests, Charles Edmonds, Coach Robert Valdez, and Coach Van Pettaway. Charles, SWAC baseball tournament 2022 in Birmingham. And I'll just say this, Charles, and you may agree or disagree. It won't be the first championship, in my humble opinion, that will be in Birmingham in the near future.
Yep, I agree with that. Even though the commissioner, Dr. McClellan, talked about not even recently that the championship game is going to be played, the football championship game is going to be played at the Higher Seas campus. I do think at some point down the road that Birmingham might be the home there, way down the road. I was kind of surprised that Birmingham just came out of the woodwork. I had heard Huntsville. I heard it was going back to Huntsville, even though that was squashed considering some things that happened last year at the tournament, especially on the last day. I had heard maybe Biloxi. I had heard Jackson. So those were the 3 places that I had heard that tournament might be. Of course, Smith Wheel Stadium was the original site last year, but things didn't work out in terms of getting the stadium ready, acceptable for the SWAC brass. So that didn't happen. But look, Regions Park, I think that's a really nice facility there in Birmingham. I think for the SWAC office, it makes it easier on them because They don't have to do a lot of traveling, and I think that's kind of, I think Birmingham's a good place for baseball. And so I think I don't disagree with it. But what is different, Carlos, is the time of the tournament. The SWAC baseball tournament is later than what it's usually been. It's usually a week later. It's usually the mid part of May. Now you're looking at the end of May. Right before, if I'm not mistaken, right before Memorial Day. So that's different. So hey, I mean, I think with more teams, with Bethune and FAMU, I think that the whole calendar changes, the schedule changes, everything changes. So I'm kind of surprised that Birmingham got it, but hey, I'll take it, and we'll see how it goes.
SWAC Commissioner, and give you a couple of notes. Dr. Charles McClellan said we're extremely excited to host our upcoming SWAC baseball tournament at Regents Field in downtown Birmingham. Regent Field is a first-class venue with all of the amenities needed to host what we anticipate being a truly memorable event for our student athletes, coaches, fans, and supporters. So, Regent Field is home of the Birmingham Barons AA baseball team. The state-of-the-art facility is located adjacent to the Railroad Park, for those in Birmingham, and I guess, Charles, you know where that's at, just south of downtown Birmingham. With a host of modern amenities, Regent Field is one of the premier baseball facilities in the southern region with a seating capacity of 8,500. So, attendance-wise, seating capacity, that's outstanding. Now, you mentioned May 25th to May 29th is the time of the tournament. So, will there be more downtime now than in the past, or will it be a shorter downtime because of, you added FAMU and Bethune-Cookman?
I don't think so. I think the last baseball series is the week before the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. I plugged
Yeah,
in our schedule the other day, and I think I believe we play Southern University in the last baseball series, and I think that's the week before the tournament starts. So with the addition of Bethune and FAMU, I think that does change the schedule up a little bit in terms of SWAC baseball. So I don't think there's going to be any downtime. To be quite honest with you, I think it'll kind of ramp up a little bit because you got to turn around and get ready for the baseball tournament.
So I would say good deal. Good deal. Huntsville last year for the tournament, but now in Birmingham. I'm going to see if my predictions are right. It's the first of a couple, I think, in the near future, that will be hosted in Birmingham. I'm looking at maybe SWAC football championship, and albeit now, hey, the higher seed, but last year at SWAC football media day, I had a conversation with Mr. Courtney, director of athletics at FAMU, and we were looking at Alabama Birmingham's new football stadium. We just were kind of wondering, boy, he basically said he could see it there, 40,000 seat stadium. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself, of course. But we will see, Charles. It will be a interesting scenario to follow. But baseball in Birmingham, 2022. You think, Charles, it's going to be multiple years there?
Yes, I do. There was several years ago there was some discussion about having a lot of the major championships in Birmingham, which is the home of the SWAC
Mm-hmm.
office. We know the SWAC basketball championship, all games will be in Birmingham. There won't be the top four, top five hosting. All games, and I got confirmation from the SWAC office a couple of weeks ago about this, all games will be in Birmingham. Now you got the baseball championship will be in Birmingham. We talked about
Mm-hmm.
football, even though right now it's at the higher seed. I do predict that somewhere down the road, the next few years, that's going to change as well. So I think the conference's goal to have all the major championships in and around the Birmingham area, even in volleyball at the Crossplex. The volleyball championship was at Alabama A&M this past season, but the year before it was in Birmingham. So I do think there may be a slight nudge to get all the championships there in Birmingham. I might be wrong about that, but we're kind of seeing is leaning that way, and we'll see if football heads that way in the next few years. But I agree with you. I do think there's somewhat of a nudge to get as many of the championships close to the home office site as possible. We'll see how it goes.
Also, with Southern University baseball, and just kind of give you some of the highlights, and you'll appreciate this, Charles. And I'm not surprised if time will permit, you will find a way to get down to the Andre Dawson Classic. Southern opens up February 18th against Alabama State. February 19th, Jackson State. And FAMU, February 20th. Charles, what a way to start off. Andre Dawson Classic. Some tough content. What, Charles? Is it too tough?
No. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, because we were in that. We were in the Andre Dawson Classic, and I hate that we're not in the Andre Dawson Classic. I think some things fell apart, some negotiations fell apart there. I was told that we weren't going to be in it right after the end of last baseball season, and I hate it because I enjoy New Orleans. I enjoy that Classic. It's quality baseball right off the bat. So I enjoyed it, but hey, that's going to be some good baseball there right off the bat there in about a month or so. So we'll see. I mean, we have a first-year coach. I think for Southern University, the tournament champs, good baseball, and I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss not being a part of that Classic, but I think it's some good baseball to start the season.
Well, the positive thing is you'll get a chance to come to Baton Rouge, you're head and head, since Alcorn's in the Western Division, and use around that time crawfish. It's available.
Yes.
It's available.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
10 pounds as usual, or maybe do I need to up it up a little bit?
No, I can't afford 10 pounds, Carlos. The budget director will not let me get 10 pounds. Oh, you're treating. Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
I'm sorry.
We'll
I
still say the 10
didn't.
pounds.
Okay, yeah. 10 will work. Yeah, 10 or more.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
He says more, folks. And then the Jaguars host the University of Missouri on February 23rd. Then they head over to Louisiana State, LSU, for games against Tulsa University and LSU on February 25th to 27th. Then the Jaguars head out for an 11-game road trip with series against University of Texas San Antonio. That's March 1st through the 6th. Houston, March the 9th. Texas State, March 11th to the 13th. And UAPB, March 18th through March 20th. And Mississippi State on March 22nd. They also have games in state with McNeese. And then Texas Southern comes, Tulane, New Orleans. And they open up the SWAC baseball season against University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. And the final series of the season will be against Alcorn State May 20th through May 22nd at Lee Hines Stadium. So they get a chance to play LSU and Towson twice over the weekend. So competitive schedule, and Southern back-to-back tournament champions, SWAC champions, they're going to be haunted in Jackson State. They're still going to have a quality baseball program. Alabama State, FAMU, Bethune-Cookman. Wow. It is going to be interesting, Charles.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, SWAC baseball is the ultimate unknown. Jackson State went 24-0 in the division, and I thought there were some chinks in the armor, and if they weren't careful, that they were going to let it slip. And unfortunately, they played their worst baseball in the last game and a half of the tournament. And Southern University slipped through the side door and got them. That's what happens in SWAC baseball. So I think it's going to be no different with FAMU and Bethune coming in. I don't think anything's going to change there. I think it's going to even add to the zaniness in SWAC baseball. I don't think you're going to know how that thing's going to go. Southern's the defending champs, so they are the team to beat. But I wouldn't be surprised if Texas Southern's back in the thick of it again. Jackson State's going to be in the thick of it again. Carlos James, the UAPB, is going to be back in the thick of it. Grambling's got a new head coach. Coach Cooper took a job with the New York Yankees organization in Tampa.
Right.
That situation is definitely gonna change. So I think it's going to be the ultimate unknown in SWAC baseball.
Well, I want to read a couple of messages, and good morning to everyone who's watching. James Verrett, Dwight Moore watching. And James actually has a question for you, Charles. Charles, how shocked are you by the Braves? The Braves starting to SWAC after all the delays and cancellations during the pre-conference.
I am surprised. If you just follow this team, and I've traveled, alongside of them and followed them, they just didn't have it all figured out. We had a lot of injuries. We had left some coaches due to COVID. Players didn't travel some games due to COVID. So you didn't have all the band together. And so when you don't have that, it's hard to get continuity. But I think that the Jackson State game, truly the last half of that game, we won by 15. We got the confidence, and then we got healthy. We took that to Alabama A&M, played well, kind of let a 20-point lead almost slip. But, when you hadn't won, you had tasted that experience, even though you beat Jackson State a few days before. How are you going to finish that off? And you were able to do that. And then against Alabama State, to be able to do enough to win that game, lock them down. I am surprised, just based on just not having everybody, not having the band together for the entire non-conference season. And Carlos, for the first year and change that Coach Bussey's been head coach, he hasn't had his full roster yet. And even today, we're going to be minus one of our key piece in the middle for today's game and Monday. So that's going to be key. But I am surprised to be honest with you, the way that we were playing. Just you were wondering, was the message getting across? Defense first. I talk to Coach Bussey all the time about scoring and scoring a bunch of points. He doesn't even look at the fact that we have 5 players in double figures against Bama State the other night. He doesn't care about that. He wants to know how we did on the defensive glass. That's just how he is. That's how he's wired. And that's what wins championships. He's been a part of it at Prairie View, so he understands that. So I am surprised at the 3-0 start, but I also want to see how we're going to do in the next 48 hours against the top 2 teams in the conference. There's no joke here with Texas Southern coming in and Prairie View coming in, despite the fact that they had to forfeit a couple of games. They're going to be ready to go. There's not as much mileage on those bodies because of the forfeits, so they're going to be even more dangerous, I think, come Monday.
Charles, I was going to pick at you, but I know what you mean. The top 2, and actually, I would agree with that. Prairie View and Texas Southern, but right now, the hottest team on the men's side, you don't face them just yet. But then it could change by the time that they get together. The way this season can go. But I was just messing with you, buddy. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Texas Southern, Prairie View, yeah, they're still tough. I don't care if they were winless when they play Southern or when they play Alcorn. Their reputation, what they've done, they're still a dangerous opponent.
Yeah, I'm not disrespecting Southern by any stretch. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Coach Woods, what he's done in this conference at Valley, but I'm just looking at where we are right now and in the moment, and the thing is, we're only playing Southern one time. That's something that we got to talk about as we kind of break this thing down the rest of the year. Some teams you're only playing once. We only play Southern one time, and they come here. We only play Grambling one time. They come here. And so I think as we look ahead down the road and see how many times we're playing these teams and what's on deck, I think that's critically important. Southern's got to go to Grambling today. Southern has had issues winning at the Hobby Arena. Tough place to play for the men and for the women. I mean, I've seen lopsided blowouts at the Hobby Arena. We've caught that as well. That's not an easy place to play and win. So I think for us, we got to do our part here at home. We're at home and used to being at home. And I think that uncertainty is what worries Landon Bussey, because on the road, you got control of your guys. You can control curfew. You can control the elements. But at home, it's a little bit different. So I'm anxious to see how we come out here today.
Coach Bussey, I like his mentality. Hey, we appreciate what we've done so far, but we haven't done enough. We're always striving. One game at a time. In football, they say win 1 week at a time. Once you win, hey, you celebrate it very shortly, if you even do that, and you move on to the next game. And speaking of that, moving on, we're going to take a timeout. When I come back, Charles, I'll visit with Coach Robert Valdez, and where I want to steer the direction of the conversation is, let me just share it shortly with you. This past week, I had some discussions with some Southernites, and you see the recruiting that's going on. Alabama A&M is doing well. Jackson State, correct? Grambling State, they're pulling 4 and 5 stars now. You saw what Jackson State did from the high school position. But the conversation I had, some of the Southern Knights, and it's not all, some are concerned about, hey, are we going to fall behind if we're not getting 4 and 5 star athletes? So Coach Valdez, I had to reach out to him to kind of give me some sense of how all of this is going with the transfer portal versus the high school athletics. And I've made my points before about the traditional way to build a program is from the high school, from the freshman to the senior year, put them in a position to get their degree, student athletes, and plug in pieces via the transfer portal and the JUCO route. So once again, I think let's not worry so much. What those teams are doing, that's the best fit for them. And it's a quick sensation. But long term, you still have to build. So what's best for Alcorn may not be best in the way for Southern University. Or is this the trend again? And we kind of had discussions about this, Charles, in the past couple of weeks. So we're going to get the coach perspective from a high school perspective who played collegiately. So I'll take a timeout, Charles. You'll be involved in it as well. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be right back.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door. Tell them I'm a hungry.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember. They can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody.
Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more. But it's so absorbent, you can use less. So it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Charles, I know that makes you think about football in the fall. Coming back to Southern University, human the jukebox. It's coming, Charles. It'll be here before you know it. Spring practice, and then summer conditioning, and then fall camp, and then you'll be back at Baton Rouge again.
Yeah, I'll be back in Baton Rouge yet again. But it's the one thing we can say, Carlos, over this last year or so with Bethune and FAMU and Coach Sanders and all that, we can safely say that we can talk SWAC football all year long. It's it used to be we could talk about SWAC football after the Celebration Bowl. We kind of put a bow on it once we get into basketball, but it's definitely not the case now. We can talk football every day, all year long, and nobody will be mad at you about it. I mean, I think that's the way it should be. We've been kind of waiting on it for a while, and it's here now, so we can always talk about football.
You're absolutely right. Well, we're waiting on Coach Robert Valdez to join us, and we'll let you know when we're able to get him on. But as far as Southern University and SWAC basketball, we can get into a little bit of that. Charles, you mentioned during the break that Jackson State, really and truthfully, on the men's side, they struggled out of the gate.
Critical mass right now for Jackson State. They didn't play their last game in non-conference due to COVID. They had to quarantine. And right now, Jackson State offensively, it's a struggle right now for them. They can't knock down shots. They've got McKinnis inside. That's pretty good. But once you collapse on him, you got guys like Gabe Watson, a USM transfer, and I saw it when we played him, just had trouble knocking down shots. And so I think right now, they lost a tough one to A&M, a game in which they led. Didn't play that well against Bama State. they're 0-3. They got the top two teams coming in. They could be looking at 0-5. They lose these two home games, then they go to Florida. You don't know how that's going to turn out. So this was a team last year that you thought was one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the conference last year. Now they're 0-3, and they're staring down a deep slope. If they don't get it done at home on this home stand, they're in trouble. And I was looking at AD Ashley Robinson when we played them a couple weeks ago, and he was squirming. I mean, this was not what he expected. There's a lot of basketball left, Carlos. You always say it's still early, but when you're 0-3, you got to get it going, and you got to get it going fairly quickly. And this is a chance for Jackson State to get it going here at home against Texas Southern and Prairie. They play Prairie today.
Yeah. Quickly, if we look on the women's side, Southern 4-0 in the conference. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Jackson State, of course, 3-0. They're on a 3-game winning streak. This is all conference records. Alabama State 3-1. They're on a 1-game winning streak. FAMU 2-1. Arkansas Pine Bluff 2-2. Prairie View 2-2. Alabama A&M 2-2. Texas Southern 2-2. Alcorn State 1-2. Grambling State 1-3. Bethune-Cookman 0-3, and Valley 0-4. And Charles, I thought Bethune-Cookman, and again, still a lot of basketball to be played, but off to a slow start. And I don't know if there's some internal issues but based on what I had seen the previous year, I kind of a little disappointed. They were picked to finish 8th, and I said, and Coach Pettaway agreed, he thought they would do better than that, but it's still early. But on the women's side, Southern University and Jackson State and Alabama State and Arkansas Pine Bluff right now in the mix.
Yeah, I got a chance to see Jackson State, got a chance to see Alabama State. And you look at Jackson State, it all centers around Amisha Williams, but she's got shooters around her that can put the ball in the hole. Alabama A&M's got a good big too, and Doriana Lewis, but they don't have the shooters that Jackson has. Nate Kilbert says that as far as bigs and low post presence, Alabama State can throw a lot of low post at you, and they got shooters to match. They're probably deeper in the post. So I think that's something you're going to have to pay attention to, as we go through the season. I also think that, Dawn Brown's team is playing well. And, of course, you don't want to forget about Southern University. They just keep on keeping on, don't they? I mean, they're flat out getting it done. So I do think on the women's side, I think on any given day that you're going to see some things happen on the women's side that you don't expect. I mean, Alcorn coming back and beating Alabama A&M, that was, that caught a lot of people sideways. So I think the last 2 or 3 years, Carlos, I think the women's race has been really entertaining. It could come down to the final day again like it did with Jackson State, Bama State. So I look forward to, seeing how the women, especially with this different schedule, only playing teams once, I still think that's going to play a factor in this thing before it's all said and done. When you only see a team one time, it could be great, it could be bad, because it could be great in the sense that, man, we got them out of the way. But it could be bad in the sense that, if you're looking for a win and you beat them once, you like to play them again and beat them again. But that doesn't happen typically. But I think just this different schedule is going to make it even more of an exciting race.
And speaking of the women's race, how important is it, and we'll use Southern women, for example, they went to FAMU, probably the first time they've been there in a while. And what an interesting game. Southern defeats FAMU 71-55. Southern shot 47% from the field. But if you kind of look at that game, and basketball is kind of a game of runs. Southern just a tremendous job in the fourth quarter because it was a tight game. Then in the fourth quarter, Southern University outscores them by double digits, and then they're raining threes everywhere, and the pressure. They're able to go into FAMU, and to me, that's a tough environment to play in. Beautiful arena, the Charles, the colors. I had to wear my shades watching the game, but the green. But man, they went in and they got it done on the road twice. How important is that to win the games on the road? When we say it's always difficult if you can even if you can win on the road, at least split.
Well, I think this year, because you got an extra road trip to FAMU and Bethune, we're going to be doing that next week. I think that adds an element of uncertainty because you already know what the Texas trip looks like. You already know what Valley Pine Bluff looks like. You already know what Alcorn and Jackson look like, but you don't know what FAMU and Bethune Cookman look like in terms of the travel and just the logistics. We're going to be flying into Tallahassee and then busting it over to Daytona, and it's a little bit, and then flying out of Daytona is different. So I think this year, at least this first year with Bethune and FAMU, that's going to be different than what we've dealt with because it's just a different road trip. So I think for you to go to Florida and get one, great. If you can get two, fantastic. And I think that's what Southern was able to do. And if you can split on that Florida swing, just like you split on the Texas swing, I think it's mission accomplished. But what Southern did just shows you that I think they're going to be in this thing for the long haul, even though it's still early. Again, I think today's going to be a good swing day. Southern at Grambling's going to be tough. This game's going to be tough. Jackson State Prairie View's going to be tough. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out today.
And if you're a fan of, say, Southern, or alum, or supporter, and then that Monday night you win 71-55 by 16, then 74-47 over Bethune Cookman. That's a 27-point victory on the road. Is it a sense of maybe you can get overconfident, or is it for the coaches to say, hey, we can't get overconfident. We played well on the road, but now we've got to get focused on going into Grambling State, which they were on the same road swing. They wasn't as successful. They were 1-1, but hey, they're going to be fired up. And by the way, Willis Reed, they're going to be naming the court at Grambling State after Willis Reed today. So all the ingredients are there. This would make their season so far in the conference that Grambling State can knock off Southern on the women and the men's side.
Yeah, I think it'll open up the race if that happens. But to your question about Monday night, I think that those Monday night games, as we know, are tough. And maybe I think it's a combination of Southern playing really well, and maybe Bethune Cookman might not be so all that. I think I look at Southern right now. The fact that they're scoring more points than I thought that they could score. I mean, Southern's a team that likes to bog you down on the women's side. 58-56, 51-50. But they're putting the ball in the hole. They're getting up and running, up and down, knocking down threes. This is a different Southern team than what I've seen over the last few years. And that could spell danger for the rest of the conference because we're not used to seeing teams get up and down like this, especially from Southern University. We're used to, Coach Cooper's team at Prairie View, doing it, or Coach Cooper's team at Texas Southern doing it. Coach Pugh's teams at Prairie View kind of like to bog you down. But for Southern University to do what they're doing and how they're doing it, I think it's a surprise to me. It's refreshing for Southern fans, and we'll see if they can keep it up.
I have to make sure the fan part of me, Charles, see, we're professionals. You're a broadcaster. I host a sports talk show. And by the way, we're going to have some new features coming in where you even be able to phone in. I love that. So I've got to taper my emotions and look at it in an objective way. Hey, we have a quick 24-hour rule. Well, no, we're going to say 12-hour rule. And then we get ready for the next game. You celebrate a little bit, but it means nothing if you go on and lose 2 out of 3 or 2 in a row. You've got to win the week. And in basketball, it's when we say week, it's Saturday, Monday, most of the time. Charles, I'm seeing all the banners in the background for you. Makes me think of Coach Whitney, and it was always a hard place. First time, and I've only been in there a few times, Charles. First time I went there, I say, wow, it's a complex, it's arena, but it's like a huge gym, and it was hostile. Charles, at the times I've been to Alcorn, I get out of there quickly. SWAC football championship, basketball, because they're so competitive, and they have a lot of pride. But all of our institutions in the conference, it's like that as well. So just to be competitive in this basketball conference to do well, that's what you want to see. Do well, and then in the conference, but also be successful in non-conference games.
Yep, I absolutely agree with that. And this place that I've been here 30 years, seen a lot of championships won here. The late Davy Whitney, just the passion and the intensity. And when you talk to Landon Bussey, he's just about as intense. He doesn't care that we're 3-0. He said, "Let's see how we do today. Let's see how we do Monday against the top two teams in the conference." And so that's kind of what Coach Whitney was about. He was kind of different in that way, but he didn't care about that stuff. He just wanted to win the day, win the Saturday, win the Monday, and that's what Landon Bussey is. I totally agree that when our gyms are rocking and the band is there, all these arenas are going to be tough. I'm looking forward to going to Bethune and FAMU, seeing how it's going to be tough to win there. The Felton G. Clark Activity Center is going to be rocking. I mean, I love going to our SWAC gyms to see how we can get it done on the road. And just looking at these banners behind me here, I mean, it's a lot of history and tradition. This is, they call this place, Carlos, the new gym, even though it's been here 50 years or so, and it's still a tough place to play and win. And I think there'll be a pretty good crowd here today because a lot of anticipation. People want to see what this Braves team is about. It's their first home game of the year. We're 3-0 in conference, first time since '05 and '06 that's happened. So I think there's a lot of buzz around this game and around the community, around the area, to see what this Braves team is all about. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it again. On the men's side, I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised what Alcorn State has done, and they're off to a good start. I think we talked about the SWAC women's standing right now, so let's kind of switch over to the men's side, and of course Southern's 4-0 on a 4-game winning streak. Alcorn State on a 3-game winning streak. They're 3-0 in conference. Texas Southern 3-1. Charles, their one loss was to Southern University in the opening conference game. They're still going to be tough. Alabama A&M. Alcorn went into Huntsville last week and gave Alabama A&M. They lost 3-1. Grambling State 2-2. Alabama State 2-2. FAMU 1-2. Bethune Cookman 1-2. Pine Bluff 1-3. Prairie View 1-3. They get their first win. Valley 1-3, and as we stated earlier, Jackson State 0-3. What do you think is going to be a turning point as far as a certain point in the season where you've got to be clicking? Is the conference season in thirds, or by the halfway point you want to see where you're at?
I think because of the fact that there were a lot of games not played, especially in the latter part of December, in which teams were on an extended pause due to COVID and other reasons, I'm going to give it another couple of weeks because teams are still trying to find their sea legs. Case in point, Prairie View had to forfeit the first 2 games. They lost a lead against Valley at home. They beat Pine Bluff at home. But I think a number of teams didn't play. We talked about it a few weeks ago. I think there were 4 or 5 teams that hadn't played in almost 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm going to give it a little more time. I think if we were on a normal schedule, if games were played as scheduled, I would say in the next couple of weeks is critical. But I'm going to say another 3 weeks. I think we're still not there yet. Teams are still trying to figure it out. Teams are still trying to get caught up. I mean, you can't make up for lost time. There's no question about that. So I'm going to give it a little more time. I'm going to give it another week, 3 weeks. I would say let's have this conversation. I think we're going to see the haves and the have-nots separate because it's too convoluted right now. I mean, on the men's and women's side. I mean, after today, we're going to know some things. But I think as far as pace of play, continuity, I'm going to say 3 weeks. And I think that's fair considering that teams didn't play a lot in the last couple of weeks of December and still trying to get it figured out.
If they were not dealing with a pandemic, would you still have the same feeling as far as if those teams, and we understand They have to forfeit. But it's that way for everybody. Do you think if we weren't going through a pandemic, would we kind of see things a little bit differently? Meaning, we know Prairie View and them Texas Southern, they're on the men's side, they're pretty good. On the women's side, I don't know with Prairie View women. Coach Pugh, as far as coaching ability, we know that, but it just seems that they have not gotten up to where she would like the program to be, or is it unfair to even say or mention that right now because of what's been going on as far as the pandemic?
Yeah, I think for me, just speaking for me personally, and I'm a
Mhm.
little bit more sympathetic because the pandemic has impacted people and players and student athletes in different ways. It's impacted coaches and assistant coaches and programs in different ways. I'm a little bit more sympathetic because these starts and stops, coaches want reps. Coaches want reps. They want them on the floor. And when you don't have that, it does impact it does impact the product. It does impact the bottom line. So I'm a little more sympathetic when it comes to the pandemic. I know the hardcore sports fan doesn't give a hoot about that. Hey, that's why you make all the money. That's why you make these big decisions. I get that, but for me, I'm a little bit more patient when it comes to the pandemic and allowing this to kind of play out a little bit differently and just give them another week or two. I mean, just case in point here, and I'm sure it's been the case for other universities. We just announced yesterday that school will not start until the following week. It was supposed to start in 3 days,
Mhm.
but we put a pause on it for another week. So that's going to impact some things in terms of just the student athlete experience with their classmates not being here. Some of them probably won't be here for another week because school doesn't start for another 10 days instead of 3 days. That plays a factor in some of this stuff. So I'm a little bit more sympathetic. I might be wrong. I might be unrealistic. I might be naive, but that's just how I feel about it. I think if we didn't have the pandemic, I would say that this week is critical for a team like Jackson State. If it wasn't for the pandemic, they're 0-3. They're staring at 0-5 if they don't get it right this weekend at home. There's going to be some panic. I think for A&M, I think for Bama State, I think they're okay. Braves clearly are the surprise of the conference right now. Southern University's doing what they do. But I think, if it weren't for the pandemic, I think there would be a lot of panic points. But I think because we have it, for me personally, I'm a little bit more, I'm going to take a more temperate approach. I'm going to give it another week. So 3 weeks, if we have this conversation, I think we'll see a lot better brand of basketball. I'm not saying what we're seeing now is not good, but I think just because teams still haven't gotten their sea legs under them, most of them, I think I'm willing to hold off a little bit.
Well, Charles, that's a valid point. That's a valid point, and believe it or not, I agree. I agree with that. You just have to ask the question. Now, there was some trouble before the pandemic, but you know, the competition, coaches, fans, alumni, supporters, I believe they understand that. They understand that. So that valid point. But now you give them 3 weeks after that, I'd be willing to say, you know, as far as the pandemic, we know more than when it first started, but we're kind of number wise back to where we were. Um, I still think you have to give them even a little bit more time because again, the race is about who is consistent, who faces adversity and overcomes the adversity. So the coaches, the student athletes, we all live in this world, so we've got to make adjustments. And hey, 2 weeks from now, and we may be saying X, Y, Z, they're doing better. Then they may not. Teams are doing well. They maybe get hit with COVID protocols. So it's just going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But we valid points. We got to make sure that everyone's safe.
I will say this though. I mean, if you look at the last week of games, we hadn't had any cancellations. We haven't had that, have we? We all the games have been played over the last week. So I think people are getting the message, have received that message, and I think if they want to play, we all know what the rules are. You got to have an X number of players. You got to have at least one coach available. If not, you're going to forfeit. And if both teams have that, then you got to reschedule. So I think everyone has gotten the memo. I thought there would be a little bit of loosening of it because it seemed like I read reschedule for a lot of this stuff, but
Mhm.
I was wrong about that. Team conferences and commissioners are being pretty hard nosed about this because they want to see the games get played. So if not, then you're going to forfeit, and then we move on. And I think that's where Prairie View is in forfeiting the first two games. Coach Bussey talked to Coach Smith about it, and he said, "Hey, this is just where we are," and he's rolled on from it. He's had to forfeit two games, and now they got to get back on track. So again, for me, I'm just a little bit more sympathetic about it. I'm willing to wait another week, let games play out. Let's hope they all get played. Because if we got two or three games that get postponed or forfeit, then I think that's going to impact things again.
Well, yeah, trying to be sympathetic. The rules are what they are. You have to forfeit, and it'd be different if it wasn't for everybody. But of course, that would be silly. The rules are in place. So, with that being said, we continue to hope people be blessed and be safe. Student athlete coaches, because some of the coaches have been affected personally. As far as getting COVID or Delta, all the variants. So I can understand that. I see Coach Valdez is making adjustments, overcoming adversity. See, you have to be able to do it. So we'll give him a few more minutes to get straight with Charles. We've got about 6 minutes left for you because you got to get ready for a broadcast. Anything else that has jumped out at you on in this world of sports?
Carlos, say that again. They just turned on the music. Say that one more time.
I'll say in closing comments, anything else you want to talk about in the world of sports?
Oh, yes, I do. I want to send an apology as a true diehard LA Rams supporter. I want to send my apologies to Saints fans all over this globe. I saw the replay of the game at the bowling alley Thursday, and when I tell you it was absolutely pathetic, it was pathetic. There's no reason why the Rams should have lost that game. None, zero. And yes, it did knock the Saints out of the playoffs, and I hate that because I think it would have been a great. I think the Saints might have been playing the Rams if I'm not mistaken. If that had happened, the 49ers would have been out, I think. So, but as a Rams fan, I apologize to the Saints fans for our performance on Sunday because it was absolutely atrocious. And it was 17-0. I was celebrating and dancing, and my buddy Cedric Tillman sent a text on Facebook like, "What's wrong with the Rams?" And I thought we had won the game going away. 17-17, we lost it in overtime. So before I go, I want to send my apologies to Saints fans because the Saints should have been in the playoffs.
Charles, you didn't look me straight in the eye when you said that. I don't know about that. You're throwing salt in the wound, sir?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I mean, I don't. No, no. I mean, because I think for the Rams, this trade, getting Matthew Stafford and all that. People ask me about that trade. I think it was a good trade, but I'm concerned about Stafford. I'm concerned about Sean McVay's play calling. I think
You should
sometimes he
be.
gets too greedy. We have a running game. And we talked about this, Carlos. Run the football. If you got the horses to run the football, run the football. So I'm not throwing any shade at Saints fans. I'm not that way. I just want to apologize as a fan of the Rams, knowing that the Saints, if the Rams won, the Saints would be in. I just thought it was absolutely pathetic as a Rams fan. And I can say it because I'm a Rams fan. I love my Rams, but that was sorry. And I put it on Facebook. I said that is quite sad, quite pitiful, to be honest with you.
Well, I understand. I'll have a end of the year Saints wrap up probably next week with Rod Walker of the New Orleans Advocate. It's been an interesting year football-wise. Your college football team, your pro team, but life goes on. Charles, appreciate the time. Got to take a break, but we'll talk again next week. Be safe and have a great broadcast.
All right, Carlos, appreciate it.
All right, that was Charles Edmonds of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Going to take a timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. I'll be right back.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show here on the Black College Sports Network. You heard a little bit of the human jukebox, and my next guest, he heard a little bit of the pep band and the FG Clark Activity Center, but his main thing was watching what was going on the court. And that's Coach Van Pettaway, former men's basketball coach at Alabama A&M. Good afternoon, Coach Pettaway. How you been?
Good afternoon, Carlos. I'm doing great, man. I'm just happy to be here. Another great week, great weekend of SWAC basketball coming up.
Well, that's what we have you on here for. You're the basketball analyst for the Carlos Brown Show. In hour number 1 with Charles, we kind of looked at the standings, but we won't do that again. But we will ask you your early thoughts on some of the teams on the women and men's side. Albeit it's still early, some stories are being told it's time to watch some SWAC conference basketball now.
Right. I think the Jaguar Nation ought to be happy. It's been a while since both men and women's team have been on the top. They're both playing well. I got a chance to see the men's team early on in the non-conference schedule. They're doing a fantastic job. So it's the season is coming around the way I thought it would. I knew on the men's side that Coach Wood's team would be strong, and they're definitely showing that. I got a chance to see Alcorn in person last weekend. I was very impressed with the defensive side of the ball. They did an outstanding job in confusing Alabama A&M and turning them over. and they came to the state of Alabama and swept Alabama. So that's a good thing, and I think that this is going to be a very exciting year in the SWAC when it comes to basketball. Going back to the women on the women's side, it's still early, but I'm a little disappointed in Bethune-Cookman. I thought their women would be doing better, but they're stumbling coming out of the gate at 0-3. But that's about the only thing that is perplexing to me, other than my women's team being 2-2 at this point. I thought they would be doing a little bit better, but COVID has made things difficult for everybody, and some of the programs have really struggled. I know for Alabama A&M, their coach has been gone. They've had a couple players out on the women's side. So when we get this virus under control, when the schools decide whether or not they're going to have in-person learning or whether or not they're going to go virtual, I think the coaches will be able to settle down and come up with a rhythm or a system that works best for their teams. But right now it's still up in the air. So COVID has a lot to do with how some of these teams are doing right now on both the men and women's side.
And that's a valid point, because I was wondering, and you remember maybe a couple of weeks ago we talked about Bethune-Cookman and predicted order of finish on the women's side, 8th, and I think we both agreed that they would do better. Besides the COVID situation, which we understand, and as Charles stated in the last segment, he has sympathy for that situation. From the outside looking in, coaches, is something else going on internal, or is it strictly just COVID with Bethune-Cookman's slow start?
Well, I think there's something else. I think the players that they had on last year's team, they don't have all those kids back. So I think that has affected it also. So that I think that's why they're off to a slow start. So I don't think that they're going to surprise very many people unless they got people coming in January, which starts now. So I don't think that's going to help them when it comes to Bethune-Cookman women.
Yeah, and the first year coach,
right?
But I don't know if she was, with the program. Let's say she wasn't with the program. Now, first year coach, and they struggle. And going back on the men's side, Alcorn State, though, the surprise so far, coach, on the men's side, what they're doing.
Right, and they're doing it they're getting a lot of production, like against A&M. Their freshman had a super game from the perimeter. He's got balanced scoring, but I think the biggest thing to me is they're getting it done on the defensive end. Man, they get after you. He's pressing, he's trapping, he's doing a lot of things that they used to do at Prairie View. So they're getting after people. Now Prairie View, it's still early in the season, but if they're going to be a factor in the race down the stretch, I think this is a very pivotal weekend for them. They got to get back on the winning side if they want to contend for the title again.
Now, what are your thoughts? And I agree with that. What are your thoughts on Jackson State? They've had so much success in other sports. Basketball off to a slow start, and I've joked about them being such a physical team, especially in the past. It's like it's a football team playing basketball, but they're off to a slow start, and now Saturday, Monday, they've got Prairie View and Texas Southern.
Right, they got to be ready to play.
It's a crucial time.
Yeah. Their program, Coach Brent, he built his program on defense and toughness, and that's why you see that a lot. A football team on the basketball court. I like it. I like the physical game of basketball when teams are being physical. And over the years, he has shown that he's going to put his emphasis on our defense. So I expect them, if they can stay away from injuries, I think that they'll bounce back. But this is a big weekend for them. and then they're playing Prairie View, and both of those teams need a win. And so this is going to be a big game today at 5:30 for them, and they got to be ready to play.
Now, let me move back to Southern University. Of course, 2 weeks from now may be a different story. From the outside looking in, what has been the difference as far as with Southern from last year? Do you see multiple factors? Is it talent? Is it chemistry? What is it?
I think the biggest thing is chemistry. I think they got better chemistry. Coach Woods is still playing a lot of people. They're getting after it. They get after people. And I think the team's just playing. They play together. They're looking out for each other. It's next man up when somebody's in foul trouble. And that's what you got to have during the course of a year. You got to have the entire team ready to play when your number's called. And so he's getting great contributions all the way around. And they got balanced scoring. So the other teams, they can't just shine on one person. You know, that they got to prepare for a team, because on a different night, another person's stepping up for Southern. So he's got the right chemistry right now, and he's one of the people. He doesn't need COVID to come in and mess up what they got going.
Right. And, you know, again, you try to look at situation where everyone continues to follow the protocol and be safe. And, Coach, when we talk about basketball and football, we always talk about being balanced. Does that hold true for basketball, being balanced, or is it you can be much more successful if you're defensively outstanding and average basketball, or is it better to be balanced, be outstanding both offensively and defensively?
Yeah, you've got to have a balance. In basketball, we look for balance also. We want to get it done on the offensive end, but at the same time, there are certain things that we want to get accomplished on the defensive end of the floor too. And that's going to change from game to game because of your opponent. So you can and you must have balance in basketball also. And in the balance on the offensive end, you want to balance off your scoring so that if one person goes down or gets in foul trouble, you still got people on the floor that can get it done on the offensive end. So you got to have it in basketball also.
I'm visiting Coach Van Pettaway, former men's basketball coach at Alabama A&M. And Coach Boy, some of the discussions you've always had, just with fans among each other. When you look at teams that maybe have up tempo, they play up tempo, but then we talk about, hey, you can do that at conference, but then when you get into the NCAA tournament, then you're playing against, bigger opponents. How effective is the balance between being a full court team offensively or being able to have to execute in the half court? Once again, is it best to be able to do both?
Right. You've got to be able to do them both, because even as an up-tempo team, when it gets late in the game, you still got to manage the clock. And most of the time in managing the clock, you got to slow that thing down, and you still got to be able to execute. So most coaches that play up-tempo, they're still going to go with balance scoring, and they're going to even things out when it comes late in the game when you're playing the clock. And I think you got to have them both. In tournament play, going back-to-back games, it's a lot more. It's more difficult when you're a transition team. But if you've been doing it all year, your kids will be used to it, and you just roll with the punches. You got to do whatever it takes. A good basketball team, a championship basketball team, they're gonna do whatever it takes to win the basketball game. If you stop me from being up tempo, then I still got to turn around and beat you at the half court game. So you got to be able to do them both. That's where the balance comes in. You got to be balanced offensively and defensively.
Coach, now from positions, and I know in the NBA, my humble opinion is the threes, which is the small forwards. In the NBA, I know that you have now 6'10", 6'11" that can face the basket, play with their backs to the basket. Now, I've always been told, and you'll tell me if I'm wrong or not, in our conference, guard play is crucial, and even in college basketball. What is, from your perspective, the most talented position that you've seen when you were coaching and now in this conference? Is it the 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? I'm just interested to see what you're going to say.
Well, I think your guard play is very important. I think no matter what level you're on, you got to have guards. You got to be able to control the game, and most of the time you're going to do that through your guard play. All positions are very important, but I think most coaches are going to make sure that they got a good quarterback on the floor, and that's your point guard. So guard play, and then they want that two guard to be a scorer. Our league over the years, the guards and the small forwards have been the key in the SWAC. Small forwards have been very good over the years, and also we've had some super guards in our league. So you got to have a balance of both. You got to have people that can get it done inside and out. And as a coach, you when you go out and recruit, those are the things that you're going to be looking for. And I think the coaches in our league have done a pretty good job with that over the years.
And then I see, and I don't know, maybe it's because of the European style, the influence, but now you're seeing 6'10", 6'11" guys that physically they're not guards, but mentally they're playing out. They're shooting threes. When you were coaching, how about the saying of throwing it to that 6'9", 6'10" guy down in the low post and start from inside out? But I know things change.
Right, things have changed. We've gone more to a positionless game. In other words, you got players. Back in the day, it used to be back to the basket. Now kids are, they're 7-footers are shooting the threes, 6'11", they're shooting the threes. It's a positionless game, and you got to make sure that you got enough of those guys on your team in order to be successful. Prime example in our state right now, Auburn University, they got a great basketball team. They got great balance. They're long. Those guys, they've only got one guy that really plays in the post, and that's Kessler. But at 7 foot, he can also step out and shoot the three. So you got to stay up with the times. And we don't have very many in the game of basketball low post players, back to the basket centers. Right off the top of my head, the kid up at Illinois, he's going to be in the paint most of the time. But most players now have a combo game. They can play in the post, but they can also step away from the basket. And then we as coaches, as we see the trends change, we have to go along with the times. When we first got started, if you were 6'10" or 6'11", it was a known thing that you'd be on the block. I don't care what kind of skills you had. They would put you on the block, and they would make you into a post player. But now, if you got the skill set to play away from the basket, the coaches are making an adjustment. They're letting you do that. And I think it makes the game better, and it came from from European basketball because that's how they played. And with the game going global, we get more and more of those international players on the collegiate level and in the NBA. And so the game has changed. That's just like you take a team like Golden State in the NBA. They don't have a true back-to-the-back center. Those guys they're spreading the floor, they're putting it on the floor, and they're shooting threes. And that's the way the NBA game has gone. And so goes the NBA. A lot of that stuff, Pat, comes down to the collegiate level.
Well, it's going to be interesting, Coach, because, I almost going to say, and somebody years ago told me in the conference, he could roll out 6, 7 guys at all 5 positions, good ball handlers, can play inside and out. And guess what? He said, I like that starting 5 of 6, 7. Now, he didn't talk about the reserves of being successful in the conference. What was he way off base at that time? It was years ago when he told me this.
But no, that's even true now. You don't have a dominant center in the league right now. the closest thing to a dominant player at the 5 would probably be the kid at Jackson State. So, that's what everybody's playing with, 6'6", 6'7" kids. And the more athletic they are, the better you are, because what you need with man-to-man defense, when you got to be able to switch, and they got to be able to handle the switches. And so that mobile athlete is better suited for the game that we're playing right now.
Mm-hmm. Wow, nightmares if you do have a 6'11" guy and then he switches, he's a smaller player, and if he's athletic. Now, let me go and let me go to this point. Unless you have an Anthony Davis type kid, now he could guard what and Bam at Miami.
Right.
They literally can guard all 5 positions. Is that what you're talking about as far as unless you
Right,
get one of
correct.
those disadvantage? Okay.
Right. That's what I'm saying now. You got 6'6" and 6'7" kids in our league now who on the switch, they can still guard the point, the 1 or the 2. And that's what you got to have when you're playing man-to-man defense. And I guess that's why some of the teams in the league have gone to a zone, because maybe they don't have the athletes that can handle the switch on the pick and roll, and when you're screening up against when you got a 5 going against a 1. So some of the teams in the league are going to the zone. You're seeing more zone this year.
We gotta see if we can set you up a board in your background, because I'm going to school here. 2-1-2. We go through the zones and man traps, because I definitely remember when you were coaching at Alabama A&M. Oh wow, full court pressure, full. What is that name? Obi Trotter.
Obi Trotter. Yeah,
Wow.
Obi Trotter.
I'd like to forget that name. He was just, oh my goodness. Woo.
Yeah, he was a very special talent. Very special talent. He worked hard, and he's a humble kid.
Yeah. What is he doing now, Coach?
He's still overseas, finishing up his career. He's player coach right now.
Okay. Wow, that's kind of the guys we need to connect with all throughout the conference. What are they doing now? Coach, quickly, last points. Game of the week, either Saturday or Sunday, both on the women's and the men's side, that you feel we should pay attention to all of them, but special these games.
Well, I think Texas Southern at Alcorn on the men's side. I think that's going to be a very big game, because now you'll really see if Alcorn is for real. I mean, they're 3-0, but that'll be a great matchup for them. And then I think on the women's side, probably I think the A&M State game is going to be big, because Alabama A&M cannot afford to lose any more ground on in the conference standing.
Yeah, wow. It seems like Alabama A&M women, they're always fighting adversity, but they still fight, and they continue on. Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. Make a date for next week, and we'll look forward to talking with you and getting your perspective on Southwestern Athletic Conference basketball. We throw in a little NBA. We throw in a little non-conference, non-SWAC basketball game as well. But, Coach, continue to be safe, you and your family.
Okay, thank you. Everybody be safe, and God bless.
Thank you. That was Coach Van Pettaway here on the Coles Brown Show. Going to take a quick time out. When I come back, going to visit with Coach Robert Valdez, and maybe he can kind of calm down. Maybe he could calm down some like he did me. Well, actually, he have to calm me down. But kind of put a perspective on 5 stars and 4 stars, why you should not go berserk about if your college doesn't get those stars, and how they do this ranking. So we'll talk about that next. You're watching the Coles Brown Show on the Black College Sports Network. I'll be right back.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. I've got him now after some adjustments, and boy, I want to thank our producer, Roy Evans. Couldn't do it without them. Coach Robert Valdez, head football coach, St. James High School, former Southern University offensive lineman, and Coach Valdez still looks like he can play, but his eligibility, I know, is up at Southern, right? Yeah, Coach Valdez. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, guys. How y'all? Thank y'all, and I appreciate taking care of the technical difficulties.
Oh yeah, making adjustments. That's what it's about. And speaking of adjustments, I shared I had to call you, Coach, and you can always calm me down, give me some perspective. We were having a discussion during this week. And I'll just put it this way. Some concerns about Southern University, we'll use them for example, not getting 4 and 5 stars, and will that be a hindrance for them to be able to compete? Now, Southern has gotten some transfers from the portal. They've hit the junior college ranks, and they have some stars. So now we have to go back again. What, in your opinion, how do we explain to the audience again about stars? 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, the whole situation.
People got to calm down. The stars is really based on intangibles. It's things you can't coach. There's a lot of guys with tremendous size and tremendous speeds, and these guys go to camps all over the country, and you have all these recruiting gurus and recruiting websites that take a liking to some guys and then start pushing them. And what you have to also understand is, I guess I'm not the one that's going to hold punches, but when a college really likes a guy and they commit, then that kid automatically, let's say, for example, LSU likes a guy, kid may be a 3-star, but before you know it, he's bumped up to a 4-star. He's bumped up to a 5-star just because of you have to validate that Power 5 commitment. So I've seen that before. I've seen guys go from 2 to 4 and stuff like that. So they're just ranking these kids on intangibles, and a lot of them can play. A lot of them are very, very good. But you have to look at it. Texas A&M for the last couple of years have had the #1 recruiting class, and they're not winning national championships. So you have to play. You have to play. But you shouldn't be concerned. I think Southern did a great job last year against Jackson State. I mean, that game was down to Hail Mary with all those guys that they had. So it shouldn't be cause for panic. The coaching, the culture, the discipline, the scheme, and the program will always be able. We tell our kids, that hard work always beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So you can have all those 5 stars, you can have all that talent, but you got to be able to put them together. You got to be able to get those guys to gel and to play. So there's no really, you're not really getting beaten. I mean, like I said, I know the big monster right is Jackson State and now Grambling with Coach Hugh Johnson and all that, but schematically, they're not really, beating people with tremendous scheme. They're just, they're winning games. But, if you looked at in a Celebration Bowl, I think South Carolina State showed that, look, we can play and, we can coach against these teams.
So, and this may sound silly, but it sounds like you still got to be coached up. Coaching is
You got to be coached up. You got to coach your guys. You got to coach your guys. Your coaches got to be good. Everybody's got to be bought in. It looks good. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have a 4 and 5 star, but that kid still has to play. And, all these kids in the transfer portal, I mean, it's like catching a plane, man. They got some baggage somewhere. So you got to be careful with all that.
Coach, we were talking, texting this week. Reference as far as a food analogy. And remember you're talking about.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you reminded me about that.
Buffet.
Yeah. So this transfer portal right now is like going to. I think everybody remembers Golden Corral or Ryan's. It's like going to, you go there because you want to eat, but then you got so much different things. I mean, you got to relax with all that. It's what you want to get, and sometimes you go, you don't get what you need. You get what looks good to you. And so that's what's happening right now with the transfer portal. So everybody wants to. It's like a buffet. You want to go in there, and the first thing you want to do is you want to hit the meat line. You want to hit the see what what's popping with that. But that's what it is right now. You got so many kids, and these coaches are going to transfer portal. So sometimes you know what you need, you know what your program needs are, but you get caught up a little bit, and not what you need, but what you want and what you like and what looks good to you. So fans got to be real careful with that because this is like a buffet right now. This transfer portal, you got kids going places. You don't know if they fit. You don't know if they fit your system, your scheme. Like we're talking about Southern. I mean, they don't know yet exactly what it is. They're just finalizing the staff. I think that Coach Dooley knows what he wants to do offensively, and then Coach Miller knows what he wants to do defensively. His defense coordinator, but still, you have other coaches that like I said, if I'm an offensive line guy. And I like a certain body type, then that's a certain body type that I want to look at. But the transfer portal right now has become wild because you just got kids going in and getting re-recruited. I'm looking at LSU, all those kids that are coming to LSU lately. LSU didn't want them in the first place, but now because of a situation that they're in. You're getting all these commitments and all these kids, they didn't sign them in the first place. I don't know if they offered them before, but now you got kids that are leaving Arkansas, leaving ULL, we want to come back home and whatnot because all your other guys have left. So you got to be careful with the transfer portal because, first and foremost, it may not be the best for team chemistry. It's like, that bad food, your stomach going to hurt later.
Yeah. And good point. And I want to go back to something you said. And we look at Coach Dooley and we look at Southern as far as offensive linemen. And one of the guys that I was having a discussion with, it was like, where's the beef? Where's the beef? And then he gives an example of Jackson State has this 6'7", 330-pounder coming in, 320, 6'5", 6'6". Where's the beef? Well, guess what, sir? Southern University offensive line wasn't chopped liver the last couple of years.
Right.
They were not. And then also now with the move to Coach Dooley in Prairie View, you're going to go from a pound and ground type of offense to now they're going to be balanced, but it's going to be tilted toward the pass. So you mentioned about body types. Now, isn't that going to be an adjustment for the O-line? You played the position. Run block versus pass blocking.
Right. was funny because we had the basketball coach. Southern's going to start recruiting forwards that can move and to play on the O line because it plays a difference. It really plays a difference. I think that when you start looking at it, if you need agile, longer arm guys. You got to be able to identify agile, longer arm guys to play on the offensive line. That's basically going to be able to move. That's going to be able to protect. That can still run block and all that, but it depends as your system. It fits your system of what it is that you want to do. If you want to throw the ball, I need tall tackles. I need some tall tackles that can be able to, match up, tall, athletic, rangy tackles that can match up with speed rushers that can basically keep the defender between him and the quarterback. If I want to pound it, then I need to stock up. I got to make sure that I got at least 10 scholarship offensive linemen because of somebody may get hurt. But Southern right now, like I said, if it's a transition because if you look at Southern's recent history, they've been run heavy. They've been run heavy, play action pass, power, run game, and things like that. So, the coach is going to have to go in there and assess that and see, what he can do and whatnot and make it fit into his program. But, if you want to throw the ball, you're going to have to go get those guys that look like power forwards coming off the bus because you got to give that quarterback some windows.
And speaking of new guys, and hopefully I'm not going to butcher this name, but going to put up the new running back coach, and there has been a big discussion about, coaches who were at Southern, now they left, they went back. Why was this not discussed? Who will be the next linebacker coach? Who's Coach Dooley's going to fill out? I have faith that he's going to do it. He's already done it. Just waiting to announce it. But if we can, Roy, let's put up one of the new coaches we know, running back coach for Southern University. Coach, oh boy, I don't want to butcher his last name. Fusiler, Fusiler, running back coach, Southern University football, previously at Grambling State University. I'm sure if I just butchered that, Coach Valdez, I'm sure there's some people online watching right now will let me know. But that new running back coach for Southern University. And Coach, how important it is to get the right guys who that you've coached with or in the past or recent? How important is it to have that fit as far as the assistant coaches? And once again, I will contend, position coaches, they do a lot of the work, and I always look for them to get opportunities to be head coaches and also financially to be rewarded. And I always feel that way. That's just my opinion. But how important is it, Coach, to have those guys on your staff because you're as good as your staff?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. You just can't be everywhere as a head coach. You can't be everywhere. You have to have a group of guys that you're comfortable with that is going to rally your mission. And everybody has to have a mission, and you have to have your goals intact. And because if you get guys in the building that you have relationships with that understand your coaching style, you don't have to work as hard. You don't have to work as long on getting those guys, to carry out what it is that you want to do. Like I said, you look at, let's say, for example, LSU right now. LSU, they kind of just gathering guys from all over. Now they have to gel. So when you get guys in your building that are great, right now, really, to be honest with you, you need great recruiters. Because you have to get these guys to come go get those kids. Because any head coach is going to be able to set the philosophy in the building and then be able to carry it. So if you get some great recruiters, you get some guys that can recruit and then work well together to complement your offense, your defense, and your special teams. And then you grow together, then you'll build some special things. But I think that staffs, when you look at these staffs that are doing a great job, that are united, that are together, that are supportive of each other, that's what makes championship teams.
Well, I knew someone would correct me. You know when you don't know, and I'm from South Louisiana, but Coach, I'm not as further south as you. Baton Rouge is like a different part of South Louisiana, and you go to North Louisiana, it's totally different. But okay, let's try again. Coach Fusiler, It's how it's pronounced. Fuse-a-layer. Boy, don't you love? Is that close, Coach Valdez? Now, come on, you got to help me
I
out.
thought it was Fusilier. I don't. It's pronounced different down here.
Fusilier? Okay, tell me, folks,
Yeah.
Fusilier or Fusilier? I may have done that wrong. Fusilier. Okay, that's close. But yeah, thanks a lot, Coach CT. Hell of a hire, he says. Oh, you gotta love it. South Louisiana. Go Jags.
Yes.
G-O or Geaux. I gotta practice on that. Visit with Coach Robert Valdez. At least I can get that one right. Coach Valdez here on the Coles Brown Show. So do you think we've maybe calmed down some of the Southern
Well, you're not. I mean,
supporters?
I think that you're not going to calm everybody down because people need something to talk about. But I think that once you kind of get an understanding and give the coach some time and let him, sit back and see what his philosophy is going to be and what he wants to bring in the building. I think that when you bring in your coaches and your players and give them time. I mean, the measuring stick is going to be what he does when the game starts in the fall. That's how you be judged. But for right now, I mean, I think he did a great job at Prairie View with what he had. And the guys that he had coming in the building, that wasn't a traditional conference powerhouse. I think so. Now that you've given them an opportunity at a school that has much more football namesake recognition, probably, then give them an opportunity. Don't be in such of a panic right now because of what Deion is doing, and he's doing a great job. Don't get me wrong, but it's not keeping up with Deion. It's building a program. That's what people need to understand.
Right. And last week we had Coach Banks on, and he basically said about the hire. It had to be a great fit, a good fit, and that is why he chose him. He said one of the most great offensive minds in college football. And speaking of that, maybe because now you have a lot of attention, not that it hadn't had attention before in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, but now you look at 2022 in the fall season, but you have spring season, then you have summer conditioning and fall camp. With that being said, Coach Valdez, it seems like he made an assessment quickly. And I'm going to ask you that. If you were the consultant looking from the outside looking in, Southern University, what if you were asked to do a study and what they needed wants versus needs, where are some of the areas that you first identify and would immediately address?
I mean, it's different. I mean, this is going to be totally counterproductive. I watched a lot of games, went to a lot of games. I didn't see where we took the top off of defense with a speed at receivers. We didn't have receivers that could just really take the top off of a defense. Maybe, I don't know if they didn't believe that the quarterback can complete that type of vertical pass game, but we kind of made it, I guess, a little easy on defense to kind of just load the box up because we didn't take too many chances other than play action or some bootlegs. So I think that you got to go get you some guys that can run and stretch the defense vertically. Of course, defensive backs, of course, we need to, address that situation because we had a couple of games that we were in that, we just could have made a couple of plays. And if those guys if they make a play here or two against Jackson, here or two against Grambling, then that's 2 wins. That's 2 wins. And then, identify what it is that you got to get a running back. You got to get a running back that can really be a kind of a game breaker. Even though we want to throw the ball, but you still got to get a guy back there that's going to make defenses have to worry about that. I think that linemen, in the SWAC, you get a good crop, but you just have to understand you may not get the best tier. You know what I'm saying? So you have to kind of be able to work what you have. So if I had to prioritize it, I would say speed of receivers, defensive backs, and probably a good running back.
Now, I'm going to go to linebackers. Do they need they need to upgrade there as well? And on any level. It seems like coaches, to get the good quality defensive linemen, but still when you get them, you still got to be able to coach them up. How do you,
Right.
how did you see linebackers and defensive line play for Southern
Well,
University?
Southern was really thin up front. They wasn't big. And so therefore what happens is, a lot of people talking about linebackers, those linebackers didn't have an opportunity to get offensive linemen be kept off them. Because we have thin, so, if you want to improve your linebacker play, then you have to improve the size of your defensive line. Because now those bigger bodies will take up double teams and will, cause double teams and will allow those linebackers to have some more free reign and whatnot. So that's why when you look at teams, they have one of those doggone meat eaters inside that's going to always demand a double team, and that way those linebackers can get some free release and whatnot. Of course, it depends on your defense. If you're going to play a three-man front, then your linebackers are the key of your defense. But if you're going to play a four-man front, you got to get some guys that's going to demand double teams so those linebackers can have some free lanes.
Well, it's interesting, and that's why I like talking to football coaches. Everyone, it's several I talk to or text, and get in the basics of this game that they call football. If I can, still with football, but I want to kind of move to, you see, of course, transfer portal, JUCO route. Now, what I've noticed Coach Dooley, Grambling State, Jack Alcorn, they're really going to the JUCO route as far as to plug in needs. Is that a forgotten players, the JUCOs, and is that a good way to get address some immediate help? Because before the transfer portal, in high school you build it the traditional way, but then you need some perks, some fixes.
It's still
to
a
put
very
in.
viable option. It's still, because you have to look at it. Unless it's the elite guys that are entering transfer portals, a lot of the guys in the portal didn't really get much playing experience. They didn't get, they're transferring because they didn't get to play unless you're an elite guy. So the value of playing and consistency and experience would be on the JUCO guy, because the JUCO guys actually did get to play. They actually have a season. You actually have film to study on them. So I think they're the ones that's kind of getting squeezed out right now a little bit out of the deal, because it's so fancy to go after these portal guys, and then you got the top tier high school guys. But a really good, solid JUCO player has a lot of playing experience, for at least for a year or two, that can bring to the table. And my philosophy is always, the more you play, the better you get. So if I got a chance to get a guy in JUCO that's had a year or two, then that's going to be a lot more beneficial to me, maybe for my needs, than a guy that didn't play, that just got into the portal, that, now I got to catch him up. And, in this business, we don't have time to catch him up. We got to get him ready right now.
That's very interesting. Visit with Coach Robert Valdez, head football coach at St. James High School. Coach, we're going to get some St. James in before the end of this show. As you're getting ready, I know it's probably another tough schedule. My goodness. But, and I've talked to a few parents that have concerns about, and I know people going to say, oh, they're beating up on the transfer portal. No, I'm not. But there are concerns about getting scholarships, as far as, the traditional way for high school. And then also a parent talked to me about concerns. Son was looking at a school. Then there's a coaching change. Now they're opening back up the process. If one of your parents came and asked you about, hey, we're going to X school, had a coaching change, we're going to open it back up, how would you direct her or him in that conversation, or both?
Well, I just, when it goes to things like that, it's really, really difficult, because you have to identify your needs and your fit. And I think that's the hardest thing. We've had some high profile guys before, and I think parents sometimes, and the people in the ear, or whoever it is that these entourage people are, get overzealous, and they kind of talk kids into signing places that don't have real fits for them. You know what I'm saying? So I think you have to identify what's your fit. And his recruiting has changed a lot over the years. But I tell the guys, my guys, I tell them, man, fall in love with the university. Don't fall in love with the coach. Because the university address is still going to be there. The coach address is going to change a lot.
That's true. And I heard a recruit recently said that when there was a change of coaches, hey, I'm still coming, because I was taught that, hey, I'm signing with the school. I'm playing football, but I'm first. And I know it's cliche, but it's true. You're a student athlete. Be in position to do that. And, over the years, just talking to different people, and one former coach that's not coaching anymore, he basically told me, Coach Valdez, when I come and I really like when I come in the home and I see, a mom and the dad or aunt and the uncle, and they have some interest in where, and they don't leave the decision totally up to the student athlete. Yeah.
Right. And it's important. It's a family decision. I mean, it's important. I just think that right now with social media, with all the hype, and it's even more so with these NLIs, these kids are realizing that, man, I made a mistake. And but that's the society we live in. These kids play a video game, and if they're not winning, they're gonna just reset and start over. But that's basically how we playing with life and right now. But I tell them, just if we tell the guys, hey, just go and finish if you can. Coaches are gonna tell you everything they can. When you get there, everything's gonna change anyway. They don't know you. It's you back to square one.
Yeah, and Coach, I bet you can look back now. When you came to Southern University, did you come that summer or did you come that fall camp? Your first year
No,
playing.
I came. I came for fall camp. I didn't go for the summer. And I mean, I remember, like I said, they gave us a workout, Coach Billy Long, and you had to be ready when you got there. You have to, because if you didn't get ready when you got there, you're gonna be, it wasn't gonna be a good look because you didn't do what you're supposed to. If you didn't run that mile and a half run in that certain time, or if you didn't bench, uh, things are a little different now. These kids don't have to do what we did back in the day, but you had to do a bench max, and you had to do a mile and a half run, and you had to pass the agility test. And if you didn't do it, then every Sunday while everybody's off, you had to go out there before the season started and you had to pass it. And it always got a little bit harder. But I mean, I just think that, recruiting has become big business nowadays.
And I guess what I was leading to, from your freshman to your senior year, you saw improvement, maturity. You're playing as a student, the whole process, and then the coaches got to know the person, and they could say, "Boy, Coach Robert, I remember when you came as a freshman, and now you're a senior. What a difference! Isn't that what it's all about?"
I believe so. I think so. I mean, I still see my offensive line coach, Gary Smith. I mean, I see him all the time, and it's always great to talk and the relationship we built. I remember stopping at Sam's and talking to Coach Richardson and seeing those guys and all that. And I just, like I said, for me, that's why they call us old school, Carlos, because I mean, we felt that, for me, it was big. This is where I started. This is why I need to finish. And I need to get it done. And we were successful. We were very successful. Of course, it was not easy. I mean, there was some attrition, there were some injuries, there were some questions whether I should be playing over other guys and all that. But I just come from a route that's like, hey man, look, just stick to it, do your best, and good things will come.
And so, with that being said, you took all of that when you start coaching at St. James. So, 2022, Coach. Expectations is always, see how I'm leaning back in the chair. Expectations are always high, right? At St. James.
They always are. And you know what? To be honest with you, the competitive nature in me wouldn't want it any other way, because I'm very excited and glad to be in a program that expects to win and win big. And we've done some tremendous things. And this year is going to be another year that we signed a couple of guys to some really big schools, and You know, we got another tough schedule. We're playing some monsters, and we'll get back at it. And you know, the goal is always is to win a district championship, win a state championships. It's only two goals, and we don't put too much on the bulletin boards. I ain't got time for all that. That's it.
Wow. Any coming into Baton Rouge or playing anybody in the 2022 fall schedule?
Well, we got some talent. I mean, we got some couple of receivers that we're very very comfortable with. Got a defensive back, man, that's like he's a striker, man. I like him. He's a striker. So definitely, I tell them all the time. My kids already know, man. Look, if you have a chance to go to Southern, I'm pushing it. I'm pushing it, you know. So we got a couple of linemen. So it's should be a good year. These are program kids. These are kids that have been in the program now since freshman year. That you know we expect some real big things out of them this year and all that. So I'm excited. So I mean, hopefully, I tell them all the time. If you go to Southern, I'm gonna go watch you play more than anybody else. So at least I'll see you almost every weekend.
And also. Being a high school football coach, you establish relationships with, you know, other coaches. Coach Jules at Prairie View,
right?
He would come down. You know, the coaches at the former staff at Grambling, those coaches come down. So in other words, you were able to establish relationships, and at the end of the day, it's about those kids getting a chance to go to college and play the sport that they love.
Yes, sir. No doubt. And give them the opportunity to come back and help their families and improve our communities is always the cream of the crop.
Now, I know about the schedule coming up for those who are just, you know, watching and saying, well, wait a minute, St. James, that's in Louisiana. Tell them a little bit about the school, the district, and your program. And your program has sent a few kids on to play on the next level.
Right. Well, you know, the funny thing is that a lot of people see St. James. We're public. We're a public school. Everybody sees St. James think we're a private school. Louisiana, we name public schools after saints. You know, so we're a public school. You know, we've had a lot of success. I've been here 6 years. We've had a lot of success over the last 6 years. And you know, this year we're gonna play extremely tough schedule again. We play about, I think, 2 or 3 5A schools. We're 3A, so that's the middle of the road classification, state of Louisiana. You know, so we've been very successful with some of these bigger, larger schools, and in the playoffs. And it's really good football. And we've signed Power Fives. I got a kid going to the Air Force Academy. We have high academic kids. Got a really good coach staff. I'm excited. I got Austin Howard coaches with me who played quarterback at Southern and did a lot of good things.
Yeah.
I got receiver Morel Bartholomew who played for me in high school, played in college. So got a real good group of coaches and whatnot. So it's just the thing is that you just can't get comfortable. We're 54-20 in 6 years, and you can't get comfortable. You just got to continue to push the envelope, continue to push the kids, and strive. And like I said, but we play some good football here. And you know, when you come here on a Friday night, there's nothing else to do. So we call it beautiful downtown Vacherie because you're gonna get gourmet jambalaya, chicken, and all that. So it's a show.
Oh, Coach, you get me. You're making me hungry there. Yeah, that's one of the things. And I know somebody's gonna say, "Oh, he's taking a shot at North and Central Louisiana." No, it's part of the state, but it's just different in South. The further south you go, it's a unique culture. How about that? And
We
Baton Rouge
tailgate
is
like the
caught in
best of them
between.
here. We tailgate like the best of them here. Like I said, we do things differently.
And speaking of differently, and we'll close it with this. We got about 4 or 5 minutes. You're a New Orleans Saints fan, right? Is that your NFL team?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Die hard. Who that?
Disappointed. I thought Charles Edmonds, the guest earlier, was saying he apologized for the Rams and not beating the 49ers. And so the Saints, there's something about the Rams. You remember that no call that should have been a call? But anyway, okay, we won't go into that. Quick question. What will the Saints do as far as quarterback? I've seen Winston working out, recovering. Do you think they sign him for one more year, lock in, maybe for a little bit longer, or they won't because of the injury. You hear all the speculation about Russell Wilson and all of that. Will Michael Thomas ever play for the Saints again? Those are some of the questions. And what will the Saints do?
I don't think Michael Thomas will play for the Saints again. I don't think that. I think that right now that Michael Thomas has really kind of shown a side that hasn't really been productive to the locker room. I think that with the Saints being so far over the salary cap, I don't know if they're going to be able to have the money they need to be able to attract Russell Wilson. So I think that Jameis Winston, getting him healthy and restructuring and re-signing him may be your best option. I don't think that the guy with the Swiss Army knife, Taysom Hill, can carry a season. I think he's very, very good at what he is and what he does. It's a change of pace, but I don't think he can carry a season. I think that the best option, considering the money and the cap, would be to try to make sure that you totally rehab Jameis Winston and bring him back and re-sign him. Give him about a 2-year contract and whatnot, and then build around from there. You know what I'm saying? I think that he was doing a good job. I think it was different coaching him than it was coaching Drew Brees, because he really has a chance at a vertical. He can throw the ball. One thing about James can throw the ball a mile. So really, I don't know, but I hope that they are able to kind of bring him back and give him another opportunity. Because the way the defense is playing right now, the defense ended the season probably playing the best defensive football in the league.
Yeah, and management has to make a couple of decisions, and we'll get more into it in the coming weeks. Terrence Armstead, and somebody else that they're going to have to make a decision on. The safety. Oh boy, is it Michael Williams? That
Jenkins.
Pieces. Excuse me. Go ahead, Coach.
I think it may be Malcolm Jenkins.
Yeah. Well, he's getting toward. He still got a couple of years left, I think, but he's getting toward the limelight of the end light of his career. But I don't know. Maybe they can package something for Michael Thomas and help alleviate some of that spent over the cap. But I don't know. I just the way you said it just doesn't seem like there's no interest to get back anytime soon. I don't know. It's just the offensive is where they got to get things going and a couple receivers. It's going to be interesting. Well, Coach, appreciate the time as always, kind of giving a perspective. I'm looking at some of the comments. They love the perspective you put it in. So hopefully we can get some of the Southern Knights to, be don't fall out. Don't get so upset. Worried about what everybody else is doing. Let's focus on what Southern University is doing. And then, of course, we take a look at FAMU, Jackson State, Alabama A&M, but it's all going to be put on the field. You still got to coach everybody up. And at the end of the day, it's about being successful. And that's what you want to do. Well, Coach, I hear the rain is coming down in Baton Rouge, so we appreciate the time. We'll talk again real soon, and thanks for being patient with us here at the Black College Sports Network, and have a great weekend.
You too, man. Thank you.
All right. That was Coach Robert Valdez. I want to thank Roy Evans producing today's show. Everyone who tuned in, our guests, Charles Edmonds, Coach Van Pettaway, and Coach Robert Valdez. Make sure you tune in every Saturday mornings from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time here on the Black College Sports Network for the Carlos Brown Show. Until next Saturday, as always, peace and God bless.